What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the A24 Archive. This was a series I just started recently, and I'm really looking forward to going back through all of the films in A24's catalog and watching them from start to finish. In the first episode, I talked about a glimpse into the mind of Charles Swan III, which was a really rough way to start this series out because the film was not good. And it was interesting to see that come from A24 because they typically put out really quality films, and I wasn't really a huge fan. And so I was really excited to watch this next movie in A24's catalog because it was one I'd never seen before. And the film I'm going to be talking about today is Ginger and Rosa. Ginger and Rosa is directed by Sally Potter. A look at the lives of two teenage girls, inseparable friends, Ginger and Rosa, growing up in 1960s London as the Cuban Missile Crisis looms, and the pivotal events that come to redefine their relationship. This was my first time ever watching this movie, and I've seen the poster for it a few times. But even around its release, compared to like A Glimpse into the Mind of Charles Swan or Spring Breakers or The Bling Ring or a lot of these movies that were really early in A24's catalog, I feel like this one was the one I heard about the least when it was released. It's unfortunate because of the early work of A24. I feel like this is one of their stronger of the first releases, although I don't think it's a perfect movie, and I feel like it falls short in a lot of ways. I definitely enjoyed this quite a bit more than I thought that I would. It's really a simplistic story on the surface. You have these two friends, Ginger and Rosa. Ginger played by Elle Fanning, and Rosa played by Alice Englert. And they're really close from a very young age. Their parents are really close together. Rosa's mother is a single mom. She's living alone, raising Rosa on her own. Ginger lives with her parents, played by Christina Hendricks and Alessandro Nivola. Ginger's dad is this really eccentric, kind of strange person who, from early on in the film, his personality is kind of inviting, and he has this almost manipulation about him to where he can bring people in and bring them close to him to where they're comfortable. But he's also kind of gone all the time, and you can tell that his relationship with Christina Hendricks is broken. The two of them aren't very close. The film really on the surface poses itself to be a relationship between these two girls, which that's there, but it's also at its core a relationship about this girl and her father, Ginger and her dad. And that seems to take precedent over the relationship between these two girls. And that was my biggest issue with the film. You get an introduction to these two girls' characters and building their relationship for the first few minutes. Well, then you jump really heavily into Ginger's home life and her investment into what's going on politically in England at the time, and how her dad seems to be this political activist, but he also seems to talk out of his ass about a lot of things. And it's more of a relationship between these two people and how their relationship inherently ends up affecting the relationship between these two girls who are super close. The other part of the film that's implied is it seems that Ginger and Rosa's relationship is stronger than just friends, at least on Ginger's part at first. It seems like she looks at her as more than a friend, but the film never really develops that any further, and that was a little interesting that they put that in there. I felt like that would grow at some point, but it's more just those passing glances and the way that they act around each other that makes you feel that way. But it was an interesting element to the story, but overall I felt like a lot of it was effective, but for an hour and 20 some minute runtime, there's just so much that feels like it's padded and bloated that it really just didn't affect me in the way that I wanted it to, where I really wanted that emotional gut punch that a lot of these A24 films have, where you watch them and by the end of the film you're just shook at your core by how intense emotionally it is. And there is a really decent scene in the third act that kind of makes it all pay off, but the build up to get there really takes its time for a little bit too long. That kind of took away from me for that. I will say this film just further cements to me that Elle Fanning is one of the best young actresses working in Hollywood. I feel like in every movie that she shows up in, she is just so incredible and committed and amazing. One of my favorite performances from her is in the Nicholas Winding Refn film, the Neon Demon, but she continues to impress me. And this was a film early in her career where she was really young, and then she went on to do movies like 20th Century Woman that she was so incredible in, and she really does steal the entire show in this movie. And if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have liked this movie near as much, but she's just so committed and so believable in this role, and she for sure just completely blew me away in this movie. A lot of it is her interaction with her dad and her friend, but also these friends that her mother has in this book club that her mom's in, and just kind of her guiding herself through her young life in this environment where there's a lot of political discourse, and she wants to be active in it, and she wants to push for a good cause while also dealing with all this crazy shit in her home life. And that was the best and strongest part of the film to me, was watching her growth as a character and watching her thrive and watching her struggle and just kind of living through her character. And that was the strongest part of the film to me. The cinematography was pretty nice. The movie looked good. The score was relatively forgettable. I didn't find any of the music in it to really elevate the film up to any level. But overall, I felt like this film was enjoyable. I feel like it's one in early A24's catalog that's definitely worth your time compared to some of the other films in their catalog early on that I just don't feel like are worth watching. So if you haven't seen Ginger and Rosa, I'd recommend checking it out and making an opinion for yourself, because this was one that I was surprised by, as even though I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, I still enjoyed it quite a lot. So have you seen Ginger and Rosa? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was pretty decent. It had a lot of things that it could have made better, but I feel like for early in A24's production career and from an early work from this filmmaker in particular, that it was a decent effort. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm putting out a lot of A24 Archive videos, Criterion Corner videos, new release videos, and I really have been enjoying the engagement that I've been getting, and I look forward to putting out a lot more content in the near future, and I hope that you're enjoying the content that I'm putting out. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.